But yeah, I think right now Nick Sirianni looks like the best of the bunch. I'm trying to think who else is out there as a rookie head coach, but I thought it was Staley for a while.
Not David Culley.
Yeah. So it's as strange as that sounds. Yeah, Nick Sirianni is the best rookie head coach so far in the NFL.
How about that? Clip that, Xander. Clip Ed Kracz. There he is. Live. Football Friday. First 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. John McMullen here. Jeff Kerr sitting in for our buddy Jody Mack, who was at a family wedding in Key West, Florida, Ed Kracz. And I'm thrilled to see my buddy Ed Kracz on the screen. The alarm went off this morning. Eagle Maven Ed is in the house. By the way, mine did not go off, Ed. We were joking about this. I blame my wife. We don't have alarms anymore. We just use our phones. So usually that's her job. She claims it went off. Nobody needs daylight savings time. Was it ending this Sunday? Does it begin? I don't know. Either way, I can't have it pitch dark in the morning. It's killing me. Anybody else?
Yeah, listen, I still use the old-fashioned alarm clock, even though I forgot to set it last week. That was the Las Vegas hangover week. It took me several days, but no, I just remember this as the fallback weekend. I don't worry about all
That's
the
what
other.
I need. I need it because I need the sun to come up. If it's not coming up, I don't think it's time to get up. I need my body clock right, which is ironic because this is a body clock game to the Chargers. We'll get into that. They got a bit of a break being at 4 o'clock. I also want to get in before we get into the weeds of the game, Ed. I like to call you Eagle Maven Ed now, and there's a reason for that. What happened to you? Jeff Kerr said, "Where did Ed Kracz go? What happened?"
Yeah, it's good to see you, Jeff. You might, given John's want to see the sun, you might be on standby for these next couple months until the sun starts coming up, really early. So keep your phone charged. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was coming out of the Grand Canyon, the Friday before the Eagles played the Raiders, and I was trying to get one of your stories posted, John, actually, and I was in this rush because of the 3-hour time difference, and I wanted to get it up.
You got to get that. You got to get that up. That genius up. You got to get that up quick.
Yeah, you write great stuff, John. Your stories do very well read on the site. But yeah, so I don't know. I was panicking. I couldn't get in. I was locked out. I was trying every single password I knew, and then all of a sudden the thing blew up, and I had to go to my emergency account at Eagle Maven Ed. Yeah, my burner account. But listen, there were a few people that emailed me from my old, Kratzy, which I'm back on Kratzy now. But it was very nice, followers that I didn't really know, and they emailed me from the email that was listed there and asked if I was okay. So I appreciated that. But now I'm back on. The crisis has been solved. I thank my wife for that, her diligence. It took her about a week.
Always the wife. Yeah, if I get anything done, it's going to be my wife. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there, Ed.
Yeah.
But it's been a couple years, but normally this time of year for us former high school beat guys, this is a big weekend for us. It's district playoff weekend. It's kind of weird we're not getting pumped up to cover a first round game.
I'm hoping to get to a game tonight, to be honest. The game in the area here in Bucks County. So I'm going to get the long johns out, just like the olden days when we covered those high school games, and the nice wool hat and the heavy armor to protect against the cold. So yeah, I'm going to try to get to a game tonight if I can. Depending how long this Nick Sirianni press conference goes today. As we get ready for the Chargers on Sunday. Can't wait. I think it's going to be a good game Sunday.
Yeah, I'm with you. Los Angeles Chargers. I think it's an interesting matchup. If you look at what the Chargers do well, you look at what the Eagles have done well. Look, we'll start it from the Eagles' perspective. They ran the football so well in Detroit. I think it surprises people. What are they overall? I think 6th overall in rush offense in the entire NFL. And obviously the Chargers are 32nd, dead last overall. So it's got to start there, right, Ed?
The Chargers are giving up like 160 yards per game on the ground, which is just dreadful. But, I know we've talked about this before. When the Eagles win the toss, if I'm them, I'm taking the ball.
Take the football. Take it, Nick Sirianni.
And try to run and establish that run from the very start, because when they don't take the ball, their defense comes out and gives up points. I mean, I think in 6 of the 8 games, or 5 of the 8 games, the defense has given up either a field goal or a touchdown on the very first drive. So right away, you're playing from behind. And then Nick Sirianni sometimes might get a little panicky on the sidelines, and then he just abandons the run and starts to throw. And I think it just screws up his whole approach to a game. So I think you get the ball, you establish the run, and you try to come out and score some points on that first drive, get the lead, and keep the run in play.
And not only is this a game the Eagles should run the ball, they should design some runs for their quarterback. When I was at the Ravens-Chargers game a couple weeks ago, Baltimore did that with Lamar Jackson because they knew the Chargers just couldn't stop him. And I think the Chargers give up the second most 20-plus yard runs this year. I mean, that's an insane number. And you got a quarterback who is tied with Lamar Jackson for the most first down runs this year. It would make sense to give the ball to Hurts, right?
Yeah, and you might neutralize Joey Bosa in the process. We talked to Dallas Goedert this week, and he was asked about Joey Bosa and the possibility of having to block him in the run game, and he said, Bosa doesn't get paid to stop the run; he gets paid to sack.
Like Fletcher, by the way, like Fletcher.
Yeah, right. So I mean, listen, I would run the ball, but you're not going to see them run 46 times like they did against the Lions. I mean, they had that big lead, and they didn't really have to throw the ball at all. But you're going to have to throw the ball more than, I think, 14 times. That's what Jalen Hurts threw it last week. Gardner Minshew threw twice. So they threw the ball 16 times. But I don't think you're going to get away with that this week because, and John pointed this out when we were talking about it, is because the Chargers can score points, and they are going to score points. So the only way to keep them from doing that is to run the ball, control the clock, and then have your defense come up with a stop or two. My biggest fear in this game, guys, is that the Eagles have already given up 4 games in which the quarterbacks have completed at least 80% of their throws. And Justin Herbert is the kind of quarterback that can certainly become the 5th. I mean, he's that talented. He's that good. And if that happens, then the Eagles are going to be in trouble.
And he's in a bit of a funk right now, too. It might be because of the hand injury, but he had the hand injury most of the year, and he's been completing passes.
Yeah.
Well, let's delve into Justin Herbert because I admit I'll raise my hand. I'm enamored with Justin Herbert. I think he's going to be a star quarterback in this league for the next decade, barring injury. We went through this with Carson Wentz here, and we saw what happened early. And things derailed. So you never know what happens in this league, but boy, he's got a lot of talent. Boy, he can sling the football. And that's a concern, Ed, as you bring up. We've talked about Derek Carr, 90% completion rate, 80% for Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. And who was the 4th one?
Dak Prescott.
He's that type. He's closer. I'm not saying he's to the level of Mahomes or Brady or even Dak. But he's tilting towards that level. He might get there sooner rather than later. Did the Eagles go back to that philosophy of we got to play the safeties in South Jersey. We got to protect. We got to make sure we don't give up the big play. Because this week, that might not be a bad plan because Justin Herbert's also very young and he likes to throw the football down the field. So maybe when you put that carrot in front of his face, in other words, you got to go 13 plays. We're not going to give you these big plays. Maybe he tries to force the football into some of that zone coverage.
Yeah, and I think one of the defenders alluded to that this week. It might have been Rodney McLeod. He pointing out, just like you did, he is very young and he hasn't seen everything yet. So the Eagles will, I think, try to use some disguises to kind of maybe bait him into making some throws that aren't very well advised. I think it will help the Eagles to have Anthony Harris back. It looks like he's going to be a full go. I know he hasn't played, up to what they had hoped coming into the season, but he's a capable back end player, and I think to have him back will help. But the thing about Herbert too is he's just got great weapons around him as well. He has, two very good receivers in Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and he's got a good tight end in Jared Cook, and of course Austin Eikler out of the backfield is kind of that scat back type runner that the Eagles really like to have on their side. Kenny Gainwell, perhaps Boston Scott can catch, but Austin Eikler is very good at running and catching. So it's not just Herbert; it's the weapons around him that make him very good. Now you could say the offensive line is a little bit suspect. I know they're starting a rookie out there that I think, John, you kind of mock draft to the Eagles, Rashawn Slater.
Yeah. Well, he's playing well. The problem is the right side.
It's Storm Norton. He's a backup anyway.
Yeah. So, I think the Eagles can get after him. They had 6 sacks against the Lions last week. I think, that kind of jump-started this defense a little bit. I think you're going to see Herbert get some pressure on him. And, maybe he does throw up a bad ball to some of these great weapons he has.
And, let's get back to the offensive line here. Obviously, I mentioned Storm Norton, but, we talked about Rashawn Slater, too. And I'm looking at him as, okay, that's the side you keep Josh Sweat away from because, he's got such a mismatch on the other end. But what do the Eagles have to do to actually get pressure on Herbert on his blind side? Because it just seems like Rashawn Slater just doesn't give up anything.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. I mean, you're right, but I think they'll kind of mix up that side of the field. They'll use Sweat, they'll use Barnett, maybe Milton Williams lines up on that side as well, because the interior is tough. I mean, Corey Linsley's one of the best centers, in football.
He still is.
Yeah. So, I mean, he knows what he's doing in the interior. I know Javon Hargrave has kind of been shut out of the sack column here. He was off to that great start. I think 6 sacks in 6 games, and it'd be nice to see him get going a little bit on the interior, but it's a tough interior to get pressure against. So you're right, Jeff. They're going to have to find a way to kind of exploit that weakness on the right side with Norton. And I think they'll do it not just with one guy, but I think they'll mix it up. Jonathan Gannon, has showed that, he does like to mix his ends up on different sides to show different looks. So I think you're going to see more of that on Sunday.
Yeah, and maybe we saw Josh Sweat kind of break out in Detroit with the 2 sacks. And look, this is a chance for him to start stacking productive games together, because not only is Storm Norton, as we've mentioned a couple times on that, great name, not a great player, but they also have a 5th-round pick. They're starting at right guard, Brendan Jameis. So that entire side that's where you have to attack, I would think. If you're Jonathan Gannon up front, you want to get some pressure on Justin Herbert. But let's shift it to the offensive side because, let's face it, it's always the story in this town. You got a rookie head coach who's been up and down. I notice in the game notes they're playing out the Eagles, and God bless them. Philadelphia is one of only 4 NFL teams to post multiple win margins of 24 points this season.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And it's week 1 against Atlanta, and it's week 8 against Detroit. So you have those great bookends. The meat of that sandwich, pretty bad, though. pretty bad. They don't want to talk about that part of it. How does this team get consistency against and let's put, one other thing I want to bring up about those bookend games. Rookie head coach Arthur Smith, rookie head coach Dan Campbell had some interim work, but rookie. Now we go again, rookie head coach Brandon Staley. Is Nick Sirianni the best of the rookie head coaches, Ed Kracz?
Well, against those two, he has been for sure, Campbell and Smith. Now, and there's more rookie coaches on the schedule. They play the Jets, Robert Saleh on.
He's winning that one. Come on,
in a couple of weeks, you would hope. But yeah, I guess at this point, you probably have to say yes. Now, Staley got off to a great start. I think they were 4-1, and then they've lost their last 2 games. They were on a bye, so they've played 1 fewer game than the Eagles and some other teams. But yeah, I think right now Nick Sirianni looks like the best of the bunch. I'm trying to think who else is out there as a rookie head coach, but I thought it was Staley for a while.
Not David Culley.
Yeah. So it's as strange as that sounds. Yeah, Nick Sirianni is the best rookie head coach so far in the NFL.
How about that? Clip that, Xander. Clip Ed Kracz, Xander.
And here's one for you, since you're on a roll right now. Say the Eagles would happen to win Sunday, and I think everybody here would agree that would be a big win for this franchise, not just for this year, but going forward, just with the talent that they have. Dare I say it, though, they would be 4-5, and we all know this number 7 seed in the NFC is not very good. Right now it's Carolina, and the Eagles did beat them. And with the schedule coming up, we all know it's the easiest schedule left in the league. Is it fair to, dare I say it, talk potential playoffs just because of what the situation is?
I absolutely.
Playoffs.
Playoffs. I mean, sure, why not? I mean, listen, you might say, oh, well, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of transitioning and getting these good, high picks in each round in the draft? But, I think getting in the playoffs would do this team, give them some good experience in the playoffs with some of the young weapons they have in Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor. That would help for these guys to experience the playoffs so quickly and so early in their career. But yeah, a win, certainly 4-5 in an NFC that is pretty top heavy, and then kind of, a bunch of teams kind of cluttered around that 5, 6, 7 spot. Yeah, I think you can start talking playoffs. Heck, we're talking playoffs now. They're 1 game out with 9.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Blame Nick Sirianni for beating Carolina. That's all that this started. The NFC is just you're right, Ed. The Saints may have separated, but the NFC is an absolute joke after that.
It is. I brought this up on Football 24/7 yesterday, so I want to run it by you guys. You can make a strong argument that looking at the rest of the Eagles' schedule, and I'm looking at it right now, that this is the best team left. Now, I say that Dallas is week 18. Dallas is a good football team.
That game might not mean it.
Might not mean it. They're going to have this thing wrapped up, the division, by Thanksgiving. So week 18, maybe they don't play anybody. And the only reason they would play anybody is if they're jockeying for seeding position, and really probably the number 1 seed. And that's probably unlikely from an odds perspective. And then the other team, you have New Orleans coming in here in a couple weeks, who's a good football team, better than I thought, but they just lost their quarterback. And now they're going to have Trevor Siemian most likely playing quarterback coming in here. So the rest of the schedule at Denver, not a good football team, at the Giants, at the Jets, the back-to-back New Jersey Turnpike games against 2 horrific teams. Then you have Washington, Giants, Washington. I mean, that's all. That's as easy as it gets. Why can't you talk playoffs? I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent, but you're going to win a bunch of games in there.
This is why we keep saying they can go 8-9, 9-8, no matter how bad it is, because of the teams they're facing. Look, we thought Washington, that was going to be a big matchup early in the season. I know they only won.
Yeah, I thought Washington would be better.
They're terrible. I mean, them and the Giants. I remember watching on week 2. I'm like, both these teams are bad. Like, how bad are the Eagles? Are in second place in the NFC East right now. That's all I gotta say.
Second place team, baby.
Hey, but the Giants are waiting in the weeds, man. They were pretty angry last year when they perceived the Eagles to tank that game, which cost them, in their eyes, a playoff spot. So, the Giants have been waiting for this game. They've had to wait a while because they don't play until after Thanksgiving, and then they play 2 weeks later, I think. So, the Giants aren't just going to roll over for the Eagles. And, you have a coach there in Joe Judge who's battling to keep his job. Washington, the odds were stacked against them from the start because nobody ever repeats as NFC East champions. I mean, it's been such a long time since it happened. The Eagles were the last team to do it in 2003 and 2004. So, what's that?
I was in high school last time they did that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wasn't born, if you believe that.
All right. Eagle Raven Ed definitely wasn't born.
But yeah, so the odds, you knew coming in Washington was going to have a hard time bucking that trend, in my opinion, especially when you looked at the quarterback spot with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who started the year there, and now he got hurt so soon. And Taylor Heineke's the guy there now. So it was Dallas was going to be the best team. I didn't think they'd be as good as they are. And you're right. I mean, I think they could be the number one seed when you look at what's going around with Aaron Rodgers now. That whole debacle in Green Bay, he's not going to play at least against the Chiefs on Sunday. They're a candidate for the number one seed. Tampa Bay has, I think, 2 losses. They're in the mix for that spot. The Rams, of course. But, the Cowboys are right there with those teams, in my opinion. I think they're good enough to be the number one seed. So, yeah, that Week 18 game could be meaningful.
It could mean something. It could
be. It could.
Eagles fans don't want to hear it, but they have a good team. They have a really good team, and Micah Parsons looks like a player. But the Eagles
with Penn State.
But the Eagles don't care about linebackers. So one linebacker left. So 2 questions, Ed. Your favorite moment of the Eric Wilson era and your thought process on the linebackers moving forward. It's going to be TJ Edwards and Davion Taylor, Alex Singleton. Mixing in, is that good enough to get this team to competency? I'll use that word. I won't even use playoffs. Competency.
I've always liked TJ Edwards. I think it's about time they probably started looking at him more as the answer in the middle. I mean, he was very productive against the Lions and he didn't play as many snaps because it was a blowout, but he had 13 tackles. He did a nice job on a blitz. He got the Goff just as he got rid of the ball, but impacted that throw. But, you could say that maybe he's limited in coverage. And, he probably is. But, I think he's their best solution. And Davion Taylor, to me, just seems to get a little bit better each week. So I think this is a good change for the Eagles. Alex Singleton was a great story last year, kind of came into the lineup late after Nate Gary went out with an injury and then never came out. And he had 120 tackles, but, he's got some limitations. Good player to have on your side, but, I think over a 16-game schedule, he may not play as well. So I like this move to Edwards. If you're not going to invest a lot of resources in that position, then you have to hope guys like Edwards, who was an undrafted guy. And now Taylor, he was a 3rd-round pick, so there's a little bit of an investment in him. But you hope these guys can be the answer going forward, at least get you to the offseason when maybe, your feeling on that position changes, especially because you have so many early picks in the draft. Maybe they spend one on a linebacker because I think that's what JG likes. I think he likes to have his linebackers make plays in his defensive scheme. And that means the defensive line ties up blockers, something they're not real used to, something Fletcher Cox spoke out against, that, he doesn't like occupying blockers and taking on double teams. He likes to split double teams and get upfield, but that's not the way Gannon wants to play. He wants to free up linebackers to make plays. Micah Parsons would be a great fit on this team. And he was there for the taking. He would have been there, I guess, at 12, or maybe not. Maybe the Cowboys would have taken him at 10. But he would be a great fit on this team. Nick Bolton, who I think was the AFC Defensive Rookie of the Week, the linebacker for the Chiefs, he came at number 58 in the draft. He would have been a nice fit on this team. But, yeah, I think they need better linebackers. Edwards right now, I think, is the best of the bunch. And I don't have a good memory from the Eric Wilson era, to be honest.
He did pick up Patrick Mahomes, though.
That's true. There you go. Jeff Kerr coming up with the
I mean, a lot of people could say that this year, but Eric Wilson was on that list. So
yeah. Okay. Good one, Jeff. Yeah, I was racking my brain. I was filibustering there talking about the linebackers.
The one highlight. That's why Jeff Kerr's here. He got it. The one highlight of the year. Who, by the way, got picked up on waivers. Didn't last long. Houston Texans picked him up on waivers. Really nice guy. So good luck.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And it's interesting because I thought it'd be Brett Toth who got.
So did I.
Would be the one to get claimed, and Brett Toth wasn't claimed. The Eagles re-signed him to their practice squad. Released Craig James, by the way.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of a surprise, but I guess they've got 110 cornerbacks. So why?
It is amazing.
Another one. Yeah.
I was on the practice field. And I told you, JG came over. We were chatting. We were shooting the breeze for about 10 minutes before practice started. But I'm looking at the defensive backs. It's amazing. It's like there's so many defensive backs on this team, and the vast majority of the corners, they don't play. I mean, it's just Slay and Nelson and Maddox because they played well. That's been the strength of this team. I do think the COVID rules enable you to do some unique things on the roster that you couldn't do before. Because if you didn't have a 16-man practice squad, like the Eagles are banged up at receiver this week, as an example, they're just going to elevate most likely John Hightower, I would presume. And you can go about things that way. Where in years past, pre-COVID, I mean, you had to have players at other positions in case somebody got banged up. I think the Eagles feel more comfortable grabbing these darts at cornerback and say, let's try to find a cornerback. And they keep adding and adding and adding. You think it's a good philosophy for Howie Roseman?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, listen, Darius Slay's contract is going to cost them about $22 million against the cap next year, and then $23 million the year after that. He's 31 years old. Steve Nelson's on a 1-year deal. So, bring some guys in, see who you can develop, because they're going to probably be on the field next year, some of these guys. And I will say, in the pre-draft process, I like Tay Gowan a lot from Central Florida, and I like Kerry Vincent a lot from LSU. And maybe the Eagles would have drafted them had, they've been available when their turns came and whatever round they went in. But, yeah, I think they're going to need them because I don't think Nelson's going to be here next year. I don't know if Slay's going to be here. Like I said, his contract is really prohibitive. I don't know what you can do to get out from under that. And I like Slay a lot. I think he's having a terrific season.
He's having a great year.
Yeah. Great year. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and I'm not saying they should part ways with him, but you just have to figure out a way to make that contract work a little better. But yeah, I think these rookie corners are going to have to learn this year. And listen, remember Jonathan Gannon said that he had no dime defense. He never played a dime defense. And maybe one way to stop these quarterbacks from throwing for an 80% completion rate is to play some dime defense. So, maybe guys, Tay Gowan's been here since October 15th when they traded Zach Ertz for him to Arizona. Maybe he's ready to step on the field as that extra cornerback. Maybe you see a little bit more dime defense from Gannon now that he has these guys that he can kind of, get some experience with. Tay Gowan, Kerry Vincent, even Mac McCain, who's, been kind of Mr. Inactive since they
still don't know what Mac looks like. Still haven't. I can't even confirm that Mac McCain exists. Yeah. I haven't seen him yet.
Yeah.
I did see him yesterday. I probably have video of him yesterday.
What's his number? Real quick pop quiz.
He's
okay.
Now I have to look it up. What? Yeah. I have to look up Mac McCain, 37.
Oh, I was close there.
Okay.
I was 38.
37.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, these are guys' numbers we're probably going to have to get familiar with. I think, to answer your question, John, I think that it's a good idea to have these young guys on the roster because I think they're going to play next year. But we could also see these young cornerbacks step in this year and help in maybe a dime defense situation.
And we'll put on our draft caps for a second here. We all know the Eagles draft situation right now, the 3 first-round picks. That first-round pick from the Colts is coming. I am sold on that after last night. But we got the Dolphins pick, the Eagles' own pick. I think they're both going to be top 10. Now, we talked about Kenny Pickett yesterday, but I want to go a little farther than quarterback here. Do you draft the best available player with that highest pick, or do you go for the need?
I go for the best available player. I mean, that's certainly what I would do. I don't know if quarterback is going to be a need in their eyes. I don't know how they feel about Jalen Hurts. They might try to get a need. Yeah, they might try to get another season out of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Matt Corral, the kid from Mississippi. I think, maybe he fits. Malik Willis. I mean, we have to go through the whole offseason draft, process for these guys to see, how they stack up. Certainly Kenny Pickett would be in the mix, but the best available player to me, if you're taking the Dolphins pick in the top 5, which the Dolphins are 1-7, that looks like a pretty good idea that they're going to have.
They should win this week, though.
Yeah.
The Texans?
Yeah, they should win this week.
Okay, well, we'll see about that. The Texans might be saying the same thing. We should win this week.
I got a bunch of Houston fans, Ed, just waiting for that second win in Houston because I picked the Texans to go 1-17, and I got absolutely bombarded on Twitter when they won week 1. I'm like, Kracz, you beat the Jaguars.
Yeah, I know, right? They got off to a great start, you could say.
Which is my win, by the way. That was the game I picked.
Yeah. So far, so good for you. But maybe the Texans find a way to win and drop Miami to 1-8. But still, that Miami pick's going to be pretty high, and I would go with it. I think they need defensive help, and the way they like their defensive lines and offensive lines, I think the best player available could be the kid from Oregon, the pass rusher Thibodeau from Oregon. I love that Aiden Hutchinson end from Michigan a lot. I would go with one of those two guys if they're sitting there at whatever that first pick's going to be in the first round. I think you have to go defense, and the way they value the line, I think they go defensive end, and then maybe get a quarterback later. Again, that's all dependent on their evaluation of Hurts and their evaluation of these quarterbacks coming out. Now, there's that other school of thought that they could part with some of these picks to try to get Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
That's really picked up steam, and I could see them trying to do that. So, we still have 9 games to go in this season to figure it all out. All that stuff is going to play out, and it's really going to be fun to talk about once it starts to pick up steam when this season comes to an end.
Speaking of Twitter, since Jeff brought up his Twitter angst, have you gotten any Eagles should pick up OBJ comments yet on Twitter?
Yes. I've gotten on Facebook and Twitter, and my question is why? Why? To me, I think he turns 29 today, OBJ.
Yes.
Reports out of Cleveland how he doesn't talk to anybody. He's just kind of this aloof, figure. Yeah, I don't think that's a real good influence to bring into a locker room where you have, a bunch of 22-year-old kids with Smith and Watkins and Rager. I think you want to keep someone like that out of the locker room. And really, has he been that talent that we've seen the last,
he's talented, but he hasn't been that good. Yeah.
No. And I think a lot of it is just his attitude. The good thing for him now is he's going to be able to pick his team. He's going to be able to pick his situation because the Browns are going to release him. And that's a bad move by the Browns. It's hard to believe they would just cut him and not try to trade him for whatever before the trade deadline. But now he's going to be able to pick his team. So you hope that he's going to be happy with wherever he goes, wherever he picks. And then we'll see the Odell that we saw, in New York for those couple of years before he went to Cleveland, because he didn't do a whole lot in Cleveland. Maybe his first year he did, but, the last couple of years he's been, very underachieving.
Well, it is interesting, Ed, because they're reworking his deal to make it more palatable for somebody to pick him up on waivers. So maybe he can't pick his own situation, but I would wonder what team would go down that route to claim this guy.
I have a guess.
Go ahead, Jeff.
The Saints.
Maybe. Yeah, Sean Payton.
Payton.
To me, you would need a really, really strong head coach like that. You probably like a strong Tom Brady, for instance, could probably get him on the straight and narrow, but they don't need him. They have more receivers than anybody needs.
They don't need Antonio Brown either, and they have.
Yeah, but they're not. That's the type of situation he needs. But back to the Eagles and Chargers. We got to get you. And before I say that, make sure you read Ed, obviously, si.com/NFL/Eagle Maven, or just eaglemaven.com, which is a lot easier. Now he's back up and running on Twitter as well, at Kracz KR, you see it right there, KRACZE. By the way, I think at Eagle Maven Ed is easier for people, Ed. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing that out there. But I need your prediction.
They can follow Eagle Maven Ed. I just don't put anything on that account anymore.
No, save that for the burner account. Although I think people are going to be able to figure out it's you. Hunch, just a hunch. Now, you got to remember this, too. So there's a lot of pressure on you, not just for picking the game, but you and I have to pick the game for Sports Illustrated. So we have to be consistent. So you got to not only pick the game, but remember picking the game and then pick a game again later. So go.
I have to redeem myself after picking the Lions last week. I'm kind of glad Jody wasn't on the show today.
I picked the Lions last week. I got slammed on Monday.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
The negative guy picked the Eagles. This guy.
Yeah, by 1 point.
Yeah. Hey, I picked the Eagles.
You didn't pick them to cover, though.
No, I did not.
Take the win. Jeff and I can't. We went against the Eagles. But listen, the way that Philadelphia was playing and when Detroit was competitive, I just thought the Lions were gonna get their first win. Didn't happen. Gosh, I've gone, talking here about this game, I'm leaning toward the Eagles, but I'm going to pick the Chargers to come in here and to win a game. I'm going to call it 27-23. Chargers win.
Doubling down.
Doubling down.
Ed Kracz. SI.com. Eagles Maven, the great Ed Kracz. Thanks for stopping by. I will see you with Nick Sirianni in a little bit, maybe even some off the record stuff that we can't talk about. Let's get excited about that. So
absolutely.
Make sure you read Ed at eaglemaven.com. More Football Friday, Birds 365 after the break.